this is what everybody getting mad at Sam, and like obviously like it's understandable that one would be mad at SBF because they probably like lost people enough money that it like ruined countless lives and stuff. But like in the end, I don't really know how much it's like, well, he made like unethical decisions and stuff. But my basic view and understanding of it is that everybody within the crypto sphere and everybody within TradFi, everybody who creates a startup, like when you first start a business, there's going to be a period of implicit illegality.
Yes.
Where you simply do not have the manpower, understanding, or resources to cover all of your bases. And so you're going to be doing a lot of kind of questionable things, right? Like with Sam, an example of this is sharing funding between Alameda and FTX, or saying, okay,
Yes.
wire your bank funds to Alameda and they will forward it to FTX or something. And then down the line realizing, oh, there are financial implications for this because it impacts the custody of the money in a way that matters, right? For bookkeeping purposes. And it just never got fixed because he had like a 15-person team working out of like a penthouse apartment or something.
He had no accountant, which
and
I
like
think is the funniest
it was a
ever.
massive fucking business. So like it
scaled so
everybody
fast.
everybody assumes that, yeah, like everybody assumes that, okay, well, it was such a big business, they must be like Twitter or Google where they've got like all these employees and like lawyers and shit. And I think realistically he kind of forgot about that part, and he scaled size wise way faster than he scaled resource wise.
Yes,
and he
definitely.
wound up in a situation where he just had a ton of uncovered bases.
I mean, yeah, he had all running on a fucking Microsoft Excel sheet, like, which I also applaud. To have $15 billion run off fucking spreadsheet with no accountant because he became a billionaire in like 2 years. I kind of respect that in a way.
Yeah.
Now, granted, like I don't know if you have any
Now
real
it's like, yeah,
understanding
obviously if you slow down a bit and you do things more carefully, you're going to not have as many of these like catastrophic explosions that destroy everyone's lives, right? But like I don't necessarily think like that CZ is like an ethically better actor or anything. Like I think Sam is kind of right in that CZ won because his flaws didn't get exploited. But I think there is a 0% chance that CZ from Binance didn't do at least as many stupid exploitable things when he was building Binance as Sam did.
absolutely, he absolutely did.
And I think a large portion of the reason why CZ was able to do this to Sam is because he was familiar with the specific type of like fuck ups that you'll make when building an exchange. And he like, I mean, if you look at like what he did, it was a very tactical, like waiting for Sam's house of cards to become maximally destabilized and then like
pulling the one card out,
poking it in the pressure point that would most explode it, right?
I mean, CZ when he first, I mean, like they almost got fucked several times when they came out, when Binance came out, and like that they made Binance US for a reason. They had a lot of regulatory issues. They had to like geo gate all of US customers, all of people from a bunch of countries. Like they had a lot of finance stuff. So
I thought I remembered Binance almost going down multiple times
Yes.
because of some legal thing, right? Like
in 2019,
didn't they
2019 they almost went down. When it forced them to make Binance US. They almost got extremely fucked. And like I remember very explicitly everyone just being like, take your funds off Binance because it's gonna go down in 2019 when like every other exchange closed down. Like there was like a dozen exchanges that closed down overnight. And I think like the only reason that even Binance survived was that kind of like Bitcoin blew up, came out of the bear market, and then like they kind of just got a little. Oh no, this is right after that all that ended. Yeah, I don't even know how they got out of it, honestly. I think the Binance US just kind of like they pulled enough strings. But yeah, Binance was fucked in 2019. I remember pretty heavily. Yeah, I mean, and listen, and Sam was also has done the right thing of greasing the right pockets. So that's also why I like backed his horse because I was like, okay,
right? Like I bought Solana specifically because I thought he was like a very Machiavellian autist guy,
yeah,
who didn't have, and it's like, you know, like I'm not going to endorse a billionaire because I think their morals are great. I'm going to endorse a billionaire because I think he has a decent understanding of the system and it's a good bet on making me money, right?
Exactly.
And I still stick by like, even, oh well, how do you feel about that in retrospect, Lucas? Like, do you feel dumb now that? And it's like, yeah, no, like I don't regret. I mean, obviously, like I regret my decision in that I could have had slightly more money, but like, in terms of the rationale that I used to make the decision to invest in his token, I don't I don't think it was bad.
Oh yeah, no,
I
absolutely
think I
not.
had the right idea.
Also, like every investment has like I can't, was it beta
And I also made
decay?
money still. Like I bought
Yeah,
Solana very
alpha
low
decay.
based on Sam.
Exactly. Yes. Literally the tweet that like paid my bills for a year.
With the
You know,
fucking the sell me all your Solana right now for $3 and
and
go
fuck
fuck
off.
off.
Yeah,
Like
like
I
that's
bought it at like $5 or $7 or something after that tweet, right?
yeah, that tweet
And
is too iconic. I've never seen anything like that from any
it's like,
other
yes,
exchange person.
I admittedly did fuck up by not holding from $5 until $250 and then selling at the Pico top. But like, yeah, I mean, I still made a 3x. Like, fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, like, oh well, hey, listen, 3x is more than zero, and few understand that, prof. Sometimes you're never gonna catch the full rocket to the moon. It's just never gonna happen. You'll get close to it. You can get getting like even 10% of it consistently is more than
Yeah. It's still better than
enough.
TradFi. Hold up, my cat came back.
Oh, nice. Pause.
Oh, recording in progress.
Yeah, I put the
Do we
pause
pause?
button on. Yeah, I got more features now, dude.
We got a pause button now. We
got
don't
a
just have
pause
to edit
button.
that. So
Come on.
I've seen that people are shitting on Zoom for podcasting and they're saying like use this other service, and then I'm pretty sure it's all ads for like this Riverside service that appears to be essentially Zoom but with higher resolution. I have no desire particularly to use it because I think the idea of the idea of upscaling your audio from like 192 kilobytes per second to like 320 kilobytes per second and paying like $50 a month for this seems really dumb, because I don't think the average person is ever going to notice because they're either listening on AirPods or through their phone speakers.
Yeah, literally no one's gonna have almost no one has high fidelity headphones.
And like I did notice a big difference in mic quality when I was listening to our podcast on my laptop, which the new MacBooks do have pretty fucking good speakers. The new MacBook Pros have some real nice speakers on them. But
yes.
I don't know. Like, I don't know what the average person is, like what the nicest audio implement they're going to be listening to.
At most, it's going to be a MacBook speaker. I mean, like most of people I mean, almost everyone has AirPods or a MacBook speaker. There's a few people, like I have like some like nice Philips with like open back. They give me good sound, but like
I'm currently listening to this on a pair of Sennheiser HD 650s through a really obnoxious DAC and amp stack, and I think that's highly unusual.
Yeah, you have literally the highest fidelity probably audio that anyone of our listeners has. We might have two autists who are into hi-fi.
I was going to say we probably actually do have a weird spread of audio.
I'd be shocked
freaks.
if we didn't have like flack nerds who are like, I only use if you are, you should leave a comment and let us know how we're fucking up, please.
Yeah, actually, because I kind of want to know like where audio like where the limit is. And I also know that, I mean, like I could have used my old mic and I could have gotten really good at editing and I could have made it sound 18 times better than whatever my new mic sounds like. I think maintaining like a consistent distance away from the speaker head is probably going to be like the number one factor no matter what. So I'm just going to have to figure that one out.
And I'm really, really bad about that. I could
probably give you my old mic, although I think having an audio interface and an XLR mic seems to be the way to go in terms of quality and interchangeability. Like a mic that uses the standard audio interconnection, so you can the audio interface is basically an external DAC so that you can digital audio converter, I guess, for anyone listening. So that you can hook up, because like a USB mic has its own DAC inside of it, so it basically is its own audio interface all in one with the mic, and I guess that comes with the downside of you not being able to upgrade either of them.
Oh, interesting.
So like if you want to get a new USB mic, you can do that obviously, but that's upgrading both, and so like people just don't usually do it because it's a like if you want to get a nicer microphone but the same DAC, then you can do that less expensively, and you don't have to pay as much to upgrade both at the same time, right?
I wouldn't. Yeah, if I was going to do a new mic, it would be something like more professional. Like, I mean, For the most part, like this mic is like, it does the job, right? But it's like if I'm gonna
All mics
upgrade,
do the job.
yeah, they all do the job. But like the
We
very
might
first
as well,
podcast I did,
and it's
I
it's
used like a
always
I used a
fun, right?
lapel,
It's always
I
fun
used a
to learn
lapel
about
mic the first
a
time.
new weird tech sphere autism, right? Like the reason that audio is fun for everybody is not because anybody genuinely loves listening to music in the highest fidelity possible. Like they really love sitting down and uh just immersing themselves in the sound, right? Like if that were the case, everybody would like a vaguely like warm sound signature closed back headphone with like noise canceling while they like lie on a couch.
Mm-hmm.
But like they enjoy hearing the weird differences between stuff, immersing themselves in a community of like-minded freaks, learning new strange terms that they can
They can
like
flex on people with.
bamboozle normal people with, and like tinkering with stuff basically. And I that's what we need here, right? Like I did this already with audio
All right,
and
we need to start
headphones,
shilling mic shit.
speakers, and all this stuff. We need it. Yeah, we need to go full in on the mic stuff.
We need a high fidelity. We have to start doing a high fidelity mic riff. That's the niche move.
I don't
No,
think
I don't think
I mean like
we're not a big
sure
enough
the Shure
platform for
stuff
that.
is all like I mean, I think the Shure SM58, like the mic that I think it was literally developed in like 1940 or something. It's shockingly small and it's shockingly heavy. Like it has like an all metal casing, and I'm pretty sure that I could use it like a nightstick and like baton somebody with it.
Oh, nice. Is it wait? So is it the like a bulb at the top, or is it like blocky?
Yeah, it's basically like if you think about the microphone that everybody uses on stage to do vocals, like it's
Oh,
that
yeah.
mic. I can probably just send you one, but
No, I know. I have an idea what you're talking about. I play with mic stuff for like when I do like theater stuff, when I do like backstage. So I have
theater stuff. You got a theater kid?
I'm a theater. Well, I was like a techie. That was like my first jobs for like lighting and sound and shit.
I went back to that wedding with my girlfriend weekend or two ago and saw all of the theater kids from high school, and that was really quite a shock.
Did they look like exactly how you'd expect them to look, or did some of them have a glow up?
Yeah, they're still kind of.
Nerds.
I didn't really want to say this, but my girlfriend pointed out, and I figured I might as well. But I appear to be the only person who didn't go, uh, rolling down the hill at like Mach 7, right? Like,
yeah, just full fat fucks. They all turned into fat
there
fucks.
was
So
there was a lot of letting themselves go that happened.
Hey, listen, that's the case with surprisingly, actually, I expected more people to have let themselves go from like my school, and the people I've seen on the social media, they largely look the same. So that's good. That's pretty. Yeah, I'm actually kind of shocked and impressed.
I was simply too vain, right? Like I just can't. It's not even that I personally am too vain. It's that I understand that there are pragmatic consequences to looking a certain way, and like once you've achieved, like once you've gone from the first level to like something 2 or 3 levels higher and you've attained benefits from it, it's like, why are you
can't go back? Yeah,
right. Like why?
You do get a perk once you experience that perk, because like especially if you were like a twink at some point and you get the oh, now you're a little bit buff perk. Oh yeah, you can't return.
It's very similar to changing your profile to a woman on Twitter, right? Where you suddenly realize like, fuck, there is an achievement unlocked here. There's a level of ease that comes that I'm not sure I'm ever going to be able to forget again.
Absolutely not. Yeah, no. And this is it's a life lesson that more people should understand. That you gotta looks max. Even if we don't have to like properly looks max, like if you're on the fucking forum, but like you gotta looks max a little bit. You gotta like just get your level up. I mean, get your
within the, and this is why like a lot of bodybuilding stuff gets very autistic, is because they take the basic idea that, oh, people are going to like you better if you are in shape, and they extrapolate it to like a really retarded point where they're like, I have to take 3 grams of steroids and be 320 pounds lean at 5'8" year round, or else I will never have sex. And it's like, realistically, like you attain the maximum benefit of muscles after you've gained like 25 pounds of muscularity while having abs, right? Exactly. Like girls don't really need you to be at your genetic peak here to be impress, right? Just as long as you're like top 10th percentile in the room in terms of arm diameter and you have abs, they'll generally be like, wow, this is fucking epic.
This is why I'm fucked. I'm never gonna have any women ever again because my abs are gone. It's GG's for me.
Well, this is, and I also am like, I say all of this stuff, and then everybody expects me to be like a fucking
you are.
Oh, this is twink coke. This is twink fucking coke, bro. Like, go actually, and then they like figure out what I look like, and they're like, what the fuck? Why are you doing all this weird tranny coke when you look like this, bro?
It is,
but it's
strange.
just true. It's just true. I'm just here on the side of truth, right? I can't come out and lie to you guys and say that there would be a serious difference. Like I would lose some sort of benefit in my life if I lost 20 pounds of muscle right now. Like it wouldn't fucking matter at all. Nobody would notice a difference.
Well, in fairness,
my girlfriend would not leave me. She would not even notice.
20 pounds of muscle to lose that most people do not have. This is in fairness. Like I gotta like, let's put you back in perspective. But no, I think the arm diameter thing for sure. Also like having broad shoulders. So like, you know, that definitely helps. You don't have to.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys too who I actually have some friends like this who after I started lifting and started getting more jacked when I was like 19. I had a bunch of friends who started getting into it too, and a lot of them like they're just not made for it, right? Like you look at them and like their waist is always going to be wider than their shoulders. Mm-hmm. They just have extremely narrow clavicles. There's like a certain like
that's your role in life, buddy.
Well, yeah, and it's like you're destined to be like a computer programmer guy, and like you can get more muscular if you want, but like you're investing in the wrong skill tree here, right? Like you need to be wire maxing, you need to be twink maxing.
Get on the rock climbing wall. What are you doing? Like
exactly, like you are fighting against your genetic destiny here. Like I don't know.
I'm built for only. Like yeah, like you have to know what sport your body is built for.
Yeah, and you can't just get too caught up in like the idea that there's like one optimal output, right? Like God gave you a set of cards and you have to play those cards, and you shouldn't be like weirdly min-maxing away from what God wants for you. Listen, or else he's going to spit on you and call you a bitch.
Exactly. If you're playing an RPG, you got to play your class. You look stupid being like a hybrid class. You're playing yourself.
The other example of this is girls with like, you know, the really earthy girls with like a wide bone structure, very curvy, generally like heavier set, and they like develop anorexia or something. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
why are you trying to be skinny when you
right?
Have,
yeah,
like
they can get so fucking lean and they will still look like trash. Like their rib cages will be like sticking out. They will just be weird and pointy. And it's like, you don't have the bone structure for this. What are you doing? You need to be more intentional about your aesthetic optimizations here, because you're really fucking yourself up.
And this is actually, I know so many girls who had like the anorexia phase, and it was literally just because like their mom's thin and they got their dad's side, and like
and it was also like, I mean, during the 90s and 2000s, like that was right, like everything has a like a peak of cultural prominence. And for everyone who isn't that thing, I think if you're not super confident in yourself and what your like personal brand, right? If you're not confident in your personal brand of aesthetics, then you can kind of get swept up in the wave of whatever the new heroin chic meme is, and just totally go against whatever would actually be good for yourself and get memed by like magazine covers or whatever the TikTok equivalent is now.
And yeah, I mean, I think we're back in heroin chic, but once the Kardashians took the booties away, all the girls are like, "Fuck, it's so over for me."
What did they do?
They took all the Kardashians got rid of their Brazilian butt lifts.
They got rid of them?
Yeah, they all all of them. They all removed them.
What?
You know about this?
You can do that, dude? No, I don't know anything about any of these people.
No, they can, because they have $1 billion, so they can pull it off. Most people are like borderline like killing themselves to get one. Like
so they memed like however many people into like injecting. It's my understanding, like I haven't ever gone down the BBL rabbit hole, but it's my understanding that basically you get a bunch of fat from some other part of your body and you inject it into your ass, and there's like an extreme, not like extreme as in you're guaranteed to die, but like the rate of complications is extremely higher than with other cosmetic surgeries, to the extent where like it actually is like a serious health risk.
Yes, and almost all of them are like botched because like it's really expensive to do correctly. So a lot of people are just like getting injected by random shit and they're getting like poisoned and like all kinds of shit, right? So they have the money to get it done and also get it done correctly. So they basically memed everyone into getting it, and now they all just removed it because she had like to do like some Met Gala shit, and then and she's like, it's over. This era is over.
So how do they is it sort of like because when they get lip fillers and then they try and dissolve them, they also
I think they got like an actual like they got something more akin to like a boob job where they had like in like inserts.
So they didn't do the like the fat remodeling. They just like stuck some silicone ass pads in there.
Effectively, yeah. And I think most people
and they just took the ass pads.
They took the ass pads, yeah. Which is so brutal. And like I'm sure
imagine having so much money that you can effectively treat like surgical implants as like a wardrobe change.
Yeah, I mean that's they all do that, which is kind of nuts that they have like.
Yeah,
I want to know how many surgeries.
Like imagine being like, I want to look Asian this month, like,
and just be like, yeah, fuck it.
And then you're like, I'm going back. Like I got tired of it. Crazy. I'm gonna go back to being a mulatto now.
That's so nuts. I mean, like I wish that like. I don't know. I mean, it must be brutal if like you're like a normal chick who like thinks that like you have to follow the Kardashians and whatever the fuck they do.
Well, I mean, dude, like I think being a girl exposed to social media is just like, in some extent, like you are signing up for brain damage, and there's nothing you can do about it. Just because like the nature of guys is that guys are gonna pick a side and argue over any stupid fucking thing. So like you put a bunch of guys online, inevitably one of the things guys talk about will be girls and their preference in like female body type, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So like. And it's like, the eternal debates that every group of guys gets into, right? Like, you talk about like whether you like big or small tits, and it always the guys who like small tits, like fucking like obese, like fat BBW freaks, and the guys who like small tits, like they're all pedophiles. They like fucking little boys, and like these two sides, and the guys are just going back and forth like this. It's basically sports for them. They're just like fucking around with their
like,
friends.
There's enough like,
and then every girl observing this doesn't understand that the guys don't really give a shit about like whatever they're talking about. And they're, oh my God, like all these guys legitimately, like they think that my tits are like this bad that they're like calling people who like them like pedophiles. Oh my God.
Yeah, they always think that like guys are like really like they like, I understand to some degree because that's what's being said, that like guys are like objectifying and like, critiquing women's bodies, but most of it is just, I want to argue with the bros. They don't.
Right. It's literally the GM versus Ford debate, but women instead of cars.
Yeah. Like literally like my, spoken type. I have not dated a girl who looks like my like the side I pick in that debate in probably years. Like I usually pick like the thick girl with like big boobs in the ass. I have not dated a girl with that who's curvy literally since like in like 4 years. They've all been like
I would always just pick a random type of body. Like sometimes I would be like, oh, like only girls with like awkwardly long torsos and broad shoulders with a swimmer's physique are superior. And let me justify that now from an evolutionary standpoint and make some like weird niche argument for it. I don't do it anymore now because like,
yeah, there's like
people know my girlfriend, and it's just like generally disrespectful to go around like arguing some other thing that's like not like her thing, right? Like some weird bad faith person will say like, oh, like he fucking hates her or something. Look, he doesn't even. But so that's a little bit irritating that I can't have the creative liberty to just like bullshit out my ass anymore. But like it never was something that I put like serious consideration to. It's always just like, what would be a fun side to argue.
Yeah, I mean that's what it always has been. But because of like, it's not a joke to women. It's like, this is like. They're
like this
decidedly in one side or the other in their heads. Yeah. But I think that's like, I don't know, when you have Kardashian money though, you could just choose what is going to be in fashion now and just switch it up and like do it overnight too. Cause it's not like I swear they were doing ass like pictures with them having fat asses like 2 weeks earlier. And then she's like in the Met Gala like right afterwards. Oh, also they started taking that, what's that thing that like, that diabetes medicine that like makes you lose like 20 pounds in a week. And I can't remember.
It's not insulin. I know it's not insulin.
No, they have a new medicine that they give to people to stop them from having type 2 diabetes. Like helps them like process whatever, and you lose a ton of weight super fast. And they all started doing that, and it's covered by insurance, but they get like the super designer version. And it's like, this is the new weight loss drug. Some girl mentioned it to me at a party this weekend. I wish I could remember the name of it. But she used it along with taking her butt away, which is nuts.
So does this mean we're in for another wave of like skinny girls?
Probably, yeah. I'd be shocked if I could. Yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, also like the 2000, they're doing 2000s fashion again. They're gonna do the fucking low cut jeans with thong showing, skinny girl
Thank
thing.
fucking God, honestly, man. The high waisted jeans, like
It was fucking.
I have very, very little engagement with pop culture, but high waisted jeans are this is my like my cringe, boring, normie opinion.
I
My
don't like that
only
at all. Yeah.
fashion opinion is that fucking high waisted jeans are just, and you know, a lot of this has to do with the fact that the only person that has ever broken up with me when I was like 14 years old was a fucking hipster girl who wore high waisted jeans all the time. And this is a sort
Deeply.
of, yeah, like this is my sort of stab back at her.
I have never
But
dated a high waisted jeans type of chick. I always dated I dated like older chicks who were still doing the low rise thing, and then I dated a few girls who didn't believe in pants at all. And so, and then like the high waisted jeans kind of ended around recently, so they don't wear them anymore.
Yeah, I had a burning three week relationship with this girl, I think.
Nice.
When I was like a freshman in high school or something like that.
The high waisted jeans like were peak when I got out of college, and then like, but the thing is, I was in New York City, so everyone was trying to do like the like that like business girl boss outfits, and they stopped wearing jeans because they wanted to always like, have that like those flowy pleated pants and shit, and like pencil skirts.
God, that was a really weird phase. That was a really weird phase when I was like 15 years old, and all of these like sophomore ass girls would come in wearing like work formal clothes, and I would just be like, what the
most of my dating life was like that, was during this era, and it's like
this is AP biology. Like, what?
Why are you dressed in a fucking pencil
doing?
skirt? What are you doing? But hey, now, hey, I like them. I think they look hot, so we can bring that back. Now that I'm fucking old, I'm in dad mode now. I actually want pencil skirt girl.
Dude, I am so old that I have entirely abandoned any sort of like aesthetic drive for clothes, and it's now entirely about its functionality, right? Like
functionality.
if I see, yeah, if I see a woman wearing clothes that look like they're restricting her movement or they don't have enough pockets, you know, I feel a strong disgust for the absolute state of misogyny exhibited by the clothing industry that's driven her to this, right?
Listen, I want you to be very comfortable, but you have to wear heels. That's where I'm at. Either heels or sandals.
I don't believe. Fuck. I fucking hate heels because I hate having to carry girls around after they get tired in the first 30 minutes of going upstairs.
Yeah, no, I like heels. And
I love walking around at events and stuff like this, and I love like going around seeing the full scope of the room and seeing how people like flow around. Like the wedding is a good example, right? Like there's this big venue and obviously a lot of places to go and do. And most people kind of found a little corner and they stuck to it. And I was going around, roaming everywhere, seeing what the like personnel flows looked like, seeing how the staffers were moving around, going up and down the stairs just because it's nice to be walking around and stuff like that. And of course my girlfriend was like in like 18-inch heels or something like that, fucking bitching about, really, Lucas, we're going fucking up the stairs again. And the stairs were some like extremely polished marble thing or something where like me in my fairly utilitarian male shoes, like I was getting a little bit slippery. So I was just imagining her with her like 3 square centimeters of contact surface as she's walking up and down these trying to balance.
Yeah, these slippery fucking marble stairs. Oof.
Yeah, and she was wearing like a really like a long dress that was like very.
Oh, she was gonna die. Good thing you were there.
Yeah, very like the dress wasn't flowing at the bottom. It was very like fitting and stuff. So like this means that she could take her stride length was reduced to like 1 foot effectively.
Brutal. Yeah, I'm okay with like a girl in pants but in heels. I like the functionality of them wearing pants, like whatever chic cut of chick pants they wear. But then I like the heels too. It's like I'm being pragmatic, but also I'm stylish. But
I just like I cannot the soul bra within me is too strong for me to endorse heels, knowing what those foot prisons do to you.
They
right?
are foot. No, listen, I'm against foot prisons. So if you want to go full barefoot, we could do some hippie shit. I did a hippie girl or two in college, walking barefoot everywhere. I support it. Like if I think about what's her face, Tina on Tina Altina on Twitter, where like she's always fucking like kicking her shoes off and running into like fucking like fountains and shit. I can accept that.
I didn't know that she was doing that.
Oh, dude, she's like always, she's unhinged. I mean, I've met her. She's really nice. I'm not talking shit. If she's listening, she's not. But she's like very like spastic in a way. Like she'll just like like hop into like she'll post pictures of herself like jumping into fountains or like climbing into like what are those things where like dumpsters to like climb up a fucking like awning type of thing. She just does like shit like that. Like she'll like you have to stop her from running into like water and just into like from climbing on a tree. She's that kind of chick. Which
like
means
the
feral girlfriend. She's feral.
LMAO XD.
I'm so random, but like
XD I'm so random archetype, but like aged 15 years.
Yeah, but like and like outdoorsy. So it's like But effectively, yes.
LMAO, that's effectively what we are, right? Like we are the so quirky random XD guys, but then we grew up and now
that's literally what I am, unfortunately.
And now we're like trying to like mask and hide it.
This is comedy. This is
right. This is like post ironic or something.
Post ironic, and no, we're maximizing the algorithm. But no, I'm just rawr XD.
Yeah. No, I definitely I was definitely a big fan of that whole. I don't know. I don't want to call it a culture. That feels really bad.
It's a subculture. It's a subculture.
I know. It feels awful. I feel like such a loser now, dude.
It's not. You made me feel like a loser like 30 seconds ago when you said this. I didn't have this I didn't have this self-realization at the time. No, but not only is it a subculture, it is now the dominant culture. It became Reddit. Now, like Reddit became like, how like you have to have the waves of like simulation and simulacra. So like at first it's rawr XD, and then it's the bacon narwhals at midnight or whatever the fuck the Reddit phrase is. Or no, it's rawr XD, and then it's like 4chan, and then it's like Reddit, and then it's like iFunny or whatever the fuck.
Do you want to know something really awful?
What?
At that wedding, there was a guy there who was he was like a slightly overweight guy who most of the people there were business guys, slightly overweight, very very like the guy who would have been maybe a lower performing guy in college and started his own business but never really had the agency or care about him to like invest fully and go all in and make anything great. But he had enough of a business that he had a business and he was living off of it without like much of a desire to scale. So he's sitting there and he starts talking about how like my mom doesn't get it, like all these boomers, they don't get that you don't go on the TV for the news anymore. She always is like, how did you even hear about this stuff? And I'm like, I heard about it from Reddit, Mom. And he proceeds to go on like a 5-minute speech telling us about how Reddit is like his primary source of news.
Oh my god, bro, it's fucking 2022, dude.
And it was so I was sitting there at the table with some there's one of the girls I know from high school who actually has a pretty good Twitter account also now, and she's just looking at this guy like fucking horrified. Like, oh my goodness, I can't believe he's doing this in public. All of the other people who like didn't really use the internet were just like, this is so weird. Like, why is he doing this? And then someone started talking about the Elon deal with Twitter and stuff. And then
you were saved.
And then other girl brought up, didn't Elon just reply to you, Lucas, on Twitter?
She doxed you on that? That's so funny.
Yeah.
So
then I got to so then I was sitting there with a bunch of, and this was later on in the night, so everyone's like fucking hammered. I'm like,
oh, okay, cool.
Showing them my Twitter account.
And that Elon's replying to you?
Of Elon's reply to me, yeah.
You made it, dude.
Yeah.
People after that comment, which was the same day that we dropped, I guess, our last episode, or I guess episode 11 or whatever, people were like, on the YouTube, they're like, congrats, Lucas, on the $1 million in the Elon reply. They were just like all congratulating Elon reply. On
Yeah, I had a bunch of people DMing me asking if a bunch of people were asking about how my engagement metrics changed, about if there was some sort of a like a weird permanent buff that had been applied to my account, or if like how many followers I got, or oh, was this basically just like having a big tweet that went off, or like what did it look
that's
like?
actually interesting. I wonder. Yeah, did it do anything?
It basically didn't do anything other than having like a tweet do maybe like 10K.
Oh, okay, that makes
Like
sense.
that was
Fucking
the
Daniel blew up from now that everyone knows he's Ligma Johnson or the hell.
yeah.
Just following. I was making fun of him literally like a month ago for being a
Oh,
Luffy, and he fucking had like 30 some odd K overnight when he got that picture with Elon and did the Ligma Johnson thing, which is fair.
yeah,
It's a good
people have
bit.
been giving him a lot of shit for like milking it or being cringe
Hell no,
during this
I'd milk the
period or
fuck out
whatever.
of
But
it.
it's like
He's
no,
only
and it's
doing
like
Twitter
yeah,
humor
like
now.
once you get the virality beam focused on you, you either capitalize or you squander it forever, and then you spend
Yeah.
the rest of your life hating yourself. And like
Oh yeah,
you can
dude.
say, oh, like why are you cloud farming? Why do you care? And it's like it's money, right?
It's
Like
money, dude. Yeah, he's become a face
he's
now.
building a platform. Nobody who builds a Twitter platform doesn't eventually monetize it into something.
Yeah.
And every devout loyal follower here is worth some dollar sign amount.
Dude, I was at an event on Thursday and someone was explaining the situation. And I'm like, he's in my group chat. But like they were like,
He's in
yeah,
multiple of our group
he's in
chats.
multiple group chats, yeah. And he was like, they were like, yeah, and their last names was Ligma Johnson. I was like, oh my god, I can't fucking believe this is the conversation I'm in. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, like if you don't milk it, you're a bozo. What's the point of doing a bit that's like on national TV and getting Elon to like talk? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Use
no,
that
I mean
cloud.
these are all the same people who are out here saying stuff like anybody could have done what Alex Jones did, right? Like
Yeah, which is
it's
such.
just it's a
Dude, that had me like fucking stressed. I was just walking around my apartment like, how could you say that? How could you think
dude,
that this is real life? That you could just
I've
anyone could just do that?
I've had this same exact conversation with like various people being the stand-in for Alex Jones.
Oh, dude, the other one I have is
Even like
Kim
Twitter accounts and
Kardashian.
stuff. Like
Kim Kardashian's the other
anytime
one.
or
But
like anytime you post anything viral on Twitter and someone says,
mhm.
"Oh, like this is just engagement baiting, like anybody could do this." Uh
It's like go do it.
and
Then
it's like
it's the
yeah,
same
like
website.
right, yeah, like
Just say the
oh,
same take then.
I have too much principles. I could never do what Andrew Tate did. It's like okay, so you work as like what, like a fucking grocery store cashier. You work like a desk job for like 70K because your principles are too big to make $10 billion instantly in this super easy way that you know definitively you could do, but you're just too principled to do it. Like I don't know, man.
Something sounds not
It
adding up.
sounds like you're coping. It sounds like you're coping a little. I'm not gonna lie.
The yeah, no, the what was when I did like the one day of like girl phase and like just to see if I can get one of the tweets to pop off, which and one of them did. It's like people were in the replies like, you know, you have fun with the low level followers, bro. And I'm like, it's okay. It's just a joke. Relax. It's not that serious. It's not like my account's gonna like become like fucking all low level followers just because I'm doing a bit. But it's like even still, they're like, this is just it's just a lot of people at the early parts of it who are just like, this is low level engagement bait. This is da da da. It's like, all right, bro, please,
Well,
please.
this was also part of why I initially changed my profile picture to Marie and fucked around for a couple days because like I was like, well, okay, I have this thesis that basically girls have it turbo easy mode online, right? Uh but like it's just a thesis. Like what if I'm wrong? What if I'm delusional? What if I'm just like an evil, hateful misogynist?
Look at your commitment to truth.
Right. So I was like, you know, at some point, like it had been on my plate for like a month or two to like just do this and see what happens. And then Marie gave me like a really easy like avatar and like a theme to go for. So I just stuck the profile picture and gone. And I was like, okay, well, I was totally right. It looks like my model of the world is completely
accurate.
true and accurate. And I'm a genius, I guess. But like a lot of people just don't seem to want to like test it out, which is bad because I mean, like I was right this time. I've been wrong about a fucking lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like especially with financial stuff, right? The entirety of my investment history has been finding out like how to bet on my predictions about world events in a way that is going to like accurately reflect what the outcomes I think will be. So like
You know
I
what I
guess
learned?
The easiest example was like shorting oil when we had the lockdowns.
Yeah. And then it did go negative, so that was a good idea. So I learned something about my financial understanding of the world is that I'm a lot better at speculating than I am at doing anything productive, because anytime I try to make a productive like business, I find out very quickly I'm a retard. But it does seem like I have a good macro understanding of crowd behavior. So
yeah, like understanding of systems generally seems to be something that we consistently find ourselves talking about.
Yeah, I have a strong systems understanding and like zero practical understanding about anything. So it's good to know. I need to just double down on being a generalist, I guess, a generalist. But so it's such as life. Eventually, I'll get this whole practical contribution to the reality thing down. I want to be a productive member of society. Evidently, being a podcast host is the way I do that.
I don't know. I think this beautifully summarizes the difference between someone who cares about headphones and speakers versus someone who cares about microphones, right? Like if you care about headphones and speakers, what you're implicitly stating here is that you care about the consumption side of things, right? If you care about mics, you care about creation and production. You're somebody who's going out into the world and you're producing something.
So what we're really saying is that we're the Ubermensch who are creators, the upper class, and you're the proles, the consumetariat. I understand.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I don't know. I generally think that producing a bunch of nonsense and putting it out there is, like everybody.
I think that's not positive.
Right. And okay. So the eternal, the eternal fanfare on money Twitter basically goes, start a business. And then people respond to that with like, okay, like what sort of business? And that's obviously like a very valid question, right? Because, like there's no universally applicable answer that you can give everyone in every situation. At the same time, I could give a universally applicable answer, and a competent person's going to be able to do that well enough that they'll make money. But you basically need to understand enough about yourself to understand like what you actually like doing and what sort of things draw you in. And the only way that you ever get to the point of understanding that is by actually like producing things.
Yes.
So like there's a ton of people who are on Twitter all the time and they use it to like lurk and stuff. And they have like some theory about like how social media virality might work, or how like social networking might work in terms of like meeting and networking with other people, but they don't really understand it because they've never actually tried to become involved with it. And like I saw this was a big thing with like the right-wing Twitter sphere overall, when like the Soul Bra, Spinach Bra, like all of Log Fits, like all of these guys started monetizing and stuff. And there were a bunch of people who were like smaller accounts who were generally like friends with everyone in the sphere because they'd been around for a long time, but like they didn't really understand what was going on because they had never actually been like posters within the sphere.
Mm-hmm.
And
the group chat, the groups have friends, the people who
right, yeah, like even just the act of going and putting yourself out there, air quotes, in terms of like tweeting, eventually teaches yourself about the world. Yes. When you see like feedback and reception to that. It's the same thing with like if you're going to go and accomplish any task at work, you have the option either to like do it yourself or to go and look at the people who are going to be impacted by it and see how their systems work and talk to them and say like, hey, what would a software like this actually do to improve your life? Would a macro like this help you? Like what does your workflow actually look like? Like you have to like worm your way into things and get involved into shit to understand what's going on, what you have fun with. And eventually like you'll ask someone and you'll discover an opportunity and you'll say, wow, there's like a really lucrative thing here. And you'll find yourself just not pursuing it. And you'll realize, oh, it's because I hate like X, Y, and Z factors about this. And I think that sucks and I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And so now you have a better answer to the question of what sort of business do I start? And it is not one that makes me feel those things.
Right? That's actually like, I've talked to a few people who are like 23 or so or whatever, and they're like, like confused about what to do in life. And like the thing that no one wants to hear, everyone always is like, follow your passion. No, that's not correct. You'll waste a lot of time trying to find your passion if you don't do the actual more pragmatic thing, which is try shit, realize what you hate, and then just like make big X's across the list of things you're willing to do until you find the small number of things you are okay with doing. And that's your passion. Your passion is what won't make me want to fucking rope if I have to do it all day.
Yeah. Because at the end, like I don't know. I mean, like passion is always good and stuff, but like motivation is a like it's an acute state of being, right?
Yes.
Like nobody is motivated in the sense that like, yeah, man, like I'm just always gonna wake up. Like there needs to be some sort of external thing forcing you to do something.
Yes.
And that kind of needs your own sort of personal supervision.
Yeah, especially now that we're in a type of society that's like, so like the one thing about Austrian Hungarian economics I liked is like literally one of the first things in the book. So it's like the first chapter of human action. It's like humans are motivated by discomfort, but we're in a type of society that's like there's
minimizing discomfort at any cost.
We minimize discomfort to such a level that the real thing that pushes you nowadays is like, what can you motivate to do? And like motivation is extremely limited, right? So it's like, can you get yourself motivated, which requires finding something that isn't so unappealing that you can do it. And
there's also a wild number of people who like they're like, I need $10 million. And you're like, why do you need $10 million? And then they're like, I just think that that's a number at which I would be able to live a stable and luxurious life. And you're like, well, that's not like a particularly motivating, right? You know, like that's sort of just like a vague random number that you've ass pulled. And in terms of things that I've seen like push people towards like actually achieving, that's not really like the goal that does it.
Yeah.
You know, like it needs to be like when SBF did his whole FTX thing, I highly doubt his goal was just like, I want to see how big I can grow. Like he has a specific short-term goal that he's working towards with each of these. Maybe it's like, I want to approach the president of the US to regulate Binance out of existence. I want to grow my revenue to be higher than Binance's within this time period. I want to do like, you know, it's some sort of actual measurable goal as opposed to just like, I think my life would be really good if I had $10 million.
It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, if I put you like in a room and I'm like, go to like, I'm like, walk forward, right? And like once you hit an obstacle, you're like, oh, I'm stuck, right? But if your goal was past the obstacle, you're gonna like find ways to get around the obstacle, right?
Yeah, you're gonna have to go outside of the room or something like that.
Yeah, there are ways to like, you're now more motivated. And like having a goal of like make $10 million effectively just makes you stuck at like the first obstacle. Whereas like if you have like a goal that's like, I need to defeat some person, now you're gonna do all the things necessary in between that. Like spite is a good motivator for a reason. It's because it's like it's a very strong emotional resonance, has strong emotional resonance, and all the minor inconveniences along the way, it's the spite is a strong impetus to push past those. So yeah, you don't need having a goal that's like, yeah, $10 million is just not gonna do it. In fact, you should have smaller goals, smaller, more concrete goals. They always say do shit like that. For me, my goals have always just been, how can because I just hate doing shit. Like fundamentally, that's just the kind of person I am. I just hate
big lazy energy.
I'm a lazy piece of shit. And that is just, and I used to fight it my whole life. And people are like, no, you're not lazy. You've written a book or you've done this or that. Yeah. And ironically, when I wrote the book, you know what I was doing? I was trying to not do what I was supposed to be doing. I was supposed to be like applying to jobs.
Yeah.
And
it's like the things that you pick to procrastinate, the things that you actually have to do usually wind up being pretty good business ideas.
Exactly. Like my like this podcast was, I think I started, I'm sure I did this to procrastinate for
something. I'm positive you messaged me during some period of like epic procrastination you were having.
Oh no, yeah, I did.
Start a podcast?
That's literally what it was. Like everything was falling apart, and I was like, I don't want to think about that. Let's do a podcast. So like all my motivations, all my successes in life have been done to avoid doing something else that I don't want to do. And so that adds up.
Well, and I mean, this is what social media is really good at, right? Is so like people, again, coming back to the just start a business thing, if you're going to go out and like actually start a real life physical business, like let's say you want to start like a grocery store, or you want to start like some sort of like a community like air hockey center. I don't know. I'm ass pulling things here, but any of those things require a pretty big amount of activation energy, right? Like you need to go and you need to get a lot of ducks in a row in order to buy any sort of property on a loan that you're getting from a bank. It's not like it's undoable, but for someone who's never done this, it's a fairly daunting task. Whereas something like going out and establishing a presence on social media has an extremely fucking low barrier to entry. And it's usually something that people do while they're procrastinating other things.
Mm-hmm.
And it tends to lend itself towards finding what those
yeah.
actual real life opportunities are, right? Like you will eventually gravitate towards people who have similar like real life interests, and you'll get added to some group chat where people, if maybe you're a real estate guy, you have big real estate aspirations, you will eventually get added to the real estate group chat if you post competently enough about it or you express enough interest in it. You will just go through and find people who push you in these general directions with such low investment, right? Like nobody is thinking, oh God, I'll never be able to go on Twitter and post today. Like that's so daunting, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You really just find ways to finding ways to just make your procrastinations accumulate positively, productively is the real feedback loop.
Yeah, and recording them.
Right? It's like that's what it kind of comes back to, like creation, right? If you can make it so that your hobbies or like your just time wasting things are productive, then it creates a feedback loop, and then you're like, and then you start to like grow really quickly.
And everything you do needs to be exposed to people, because if it doesn't get exposed to people, you can't get feedback. And if you can't get feedback, you can't iterate.
True. Yeah, exactly.
So you do unfortunately have to put yourself in the position to be horribly humiliated and laughed at and made a mockery of and called a total bitch loser, or else nothing good ever happens, right? Like nobody ever whacks it out of the home after, no homeschooled kid ever emerges from his basement and starts a $60 billion industry that demonstrates like perfect understanding of human social dynamics.
Listen, you're not going to listen, if anyone ever critiques the shit you do, just be like, hey, you still read it though. Like actually the first time we put out podcast episodes, or maybe the first Substack, it was a Substack. I started writing Substacks, and like I got comments like, you're a fucking idiot, everything you wrote is trash, like mean ass comments, right? Especially because I will attach it to like me being abrasive online. And
yeah,
so
I was gonna say, you don't do any favors for yourself with that one.
Yeah. So I'm abrasive, then I like link it to the abrasive, so they want to just be mean to me. But I'm like, still read it though, and then that's enough motivation, because fundamentally you didn't have to read it at all. I still took your attention, because attention is an attention economy for a reason. Your currency is the eyeball. So if you get them to read it, even if they hate it afterwards, that's a minute they weren't doing something else.
I need to start putting out more like little bitty Substack tidbits.
Yes, I keep having like on the grind, because like you can.
Yeah, I keep having these like somewhere between like 5 and 10 paragraph thoughts in group chats that I just like. It's like this isn't a podcast episode. This isn't like a YouTube video, but I don't know. This was a fun thing that I had a good time thinking about. I should put this somewhere.
I need to do smaller ideas and post on Substack, because like sometimes I'll do something that's like comprehensive. Like I was doing an SBF thing, right? But then I was like, this is so like temporal. Now, granted, I was talking about the orgies and a CIA conspiracy, so I still might do that, because I really want that's way more interesting than whatever the fuck people are talking about. But like I was conscious about not talking about the financial part of it. I wanted to find like the sex tape and shit like that. But even still, it still feels so topical that I'm like, I don't care anymore. And so I wrote like,
it's one of those things where like after the timeline gets over it, it's sort of like, who cares? Like, am I really gonna? We've been doing Sam Bankman-Fried memes for a whole week now. Are we really gonna?
Like, let's move on. So
it's like, oh yeah, we get it. He's a effective altruism.
Yeah. So unfortunately,
Jewish Afro, like vegan, like ugly girl. Okay.
But if I did like a 5-paragraph thing instead of like a 25-paragraph thing, it's a lot easier to post and a lot more rapid, right? And now that
it's like what we were talking about before in terms of extrapolating a broader trend from what happened here, as opposed to looking at it in isolation.
Yes.
Like I think the SBF thing is really interesting in terms of maybe not necessarily itself as like an acute financial phenomenon, but it's really interesting as an example of what happens when the sort of crypto incentive structures all line up this way. Because I think basically this is what happened in most other crypto exchanges. And I think that everything that we're going to see, because SBF blew up, is going to illustrate a lot of what actually happens in the crypto industry. And like I assume that through some sort of like legal subpoena or something, we're going to see a lot of other sketchy stuff that other organizations did also.
I bet you. I mean, it's also like this is. I have a strong secret suspicion, and I have for a while, that this is not just crypto. That it's literally all industries are just a fucking.
Yeah, no, I
And
definitely
like the
agree.
only thing that regulation, the reason why like like TradFi people are like, pro regulation is because what regulation does is like it's like keeps the house of cards from falling down to some degree, and like not
Sam's
even like
stance on regulation was really interesting, where he basically said that like all regulation does is either speed up or slow down an industry.
yeah, I agree with that
It
though.
has no effect. It has zero effect on protecting consumers.
Oh yeah, it has zero. I agree with that completely. Even though he was trying to like actively destroy shit with his regulation, but like it doesn't change like what people do. It doesn't change whether or not the business is being predatory or not. It is all like they do it for the stock market, for example, specifically to slow down the industry, right? Because if it's allowed to be laissez-faire, it's gonna fucking it's gonna look like the crypto market,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
So
there's also the thing of like markets need to be slowed down in order for normal people to engage with them, because if every market cycle looked like what crypto did, everybody would lose all of their money, go insane, go broke.
exactly.
Like it just wouldn't work. Like imagining my mom trying to keep up with a TradFi market that was operating at the pace crypto did is just like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, like
And like
boomers straight up don't have a network that operates at such a high information latency. They would just get outpaced by every single development to the extent that they would be sitting there 3 weeks after the announcement happened being like, why did the markets move this way? And you'd be like, Mom, it was 3 weeks ago. Come on.
this is actually the funny thing too. Like if I ever play like do TradFi stuff and I'm doing options, it feels like so slow, and it feels like I don't know. I mean, like I've definitely lost money doing like normal stock market shit, mostly just because of like I get bored and I stop looking at it.
Do you remember that guy? There was some big crypto bridge hack that like the crypto bridge basically got drained of all of
Yeah,
its funds.
tornado
Some
cash.
guy,
Yeah.
some guy realized it, and he shorted the bridge's token
Uh-huh.
at like max leverage, and nobody noticed the bridge getting hacked for like 2 days. So he wound up like getting liquidated for his like 50x max short, and then by the time people realized on like day 3, it went to like basically zero. But like
Yeah.
he just assumed that the market was going to figure that all out within 2 days.
Yes. That's like the
And it
crazy
didn't.
thing. It didn't. Yeah. No. That's a funny thing. Like timing does matter. Like, and this is actually the thing I've actually learned, and I keep learning this lesson over and over again, not just with finance, but with like life. Is that there are things that like I was doing a podcast 7-8 years ago. I was watching Joe Rogan and doing a podcast like Joe back when like he kind of started, and like I had like a YouTube channel that like I have people who kept doing it the whole time. Now they have like 150K YouTube subs, or I had like blogs. I was doing different really online shit really really early, right? And every time I think I get kind of bored of an idea, and I'm like, all right, I'm moving on. And then I realize, oh, it's not that like I was wrong. It's that everyone's moving at such a slow pace. Like they're not as online as me. So the iteration, like the latency is just much larger, right? So I might have
Yeah.
been doing like some kind of like what effectively Substack years ago, that if I had kept going, I might have had like an insane amount of users. They just hadn't shown up yet, right? So
This is another really hard thing to balance too. I think once you get an audience of a certain size is understanding that everybody has like a different level of onlineness. So you're gonna have people who like let's say you have some joke that you've been milking, like me with the Marie profile picture. And after like 2 days, there are going to be people who are so fucking tired of it. They're going to be like, okay, it was funny at first. It was funny for the first 4 hours, but it's getting so fucking long in the teeth now. And there are going to be some people who just straight up never even noticed I did it. So you're going to get this weird combination of feedback from people where one group is saying effectively like, you've milked this to fucking death, man. You've got to cut it loose. This is so gay now. And another group of people who like they see it once like a week later and they're like, oh my god, this is awesome, why didn't you do this more?
and that's
and
yeah.
And there's no way to like filter them into their own separate funnels that I figured out yet.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part too. Because like yeah, and your friends will almost always make you fucking stop something a bit too early, or like just any kind of endeavor too early.
Yeah, because your friends are following everything that you do.
Yes, exactly.
Your friends will be like, oh, like, and I also tend to have I generally cut my bits loose pretty short just because like I get bored of them myself, as someone who's like at the core of it, like I am exposed to it every day. It bores me at the same rate it bores the people who are very online and like follow online proceedings that I'm involved in very closely. I think probably that's not like the best for like followers or engagement or whatever, but it's like it's just not fun, so I'm not gonna do it.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, this is like but this is a lesson I learned, especially with the last podcast, right? Like I had no one listening effectively. Like every once in a while, like I'll get like a person on that like attracts people, right? And they'll listen to that one episode, but they like didn't know I had like a reoccurring podcast, for example, or like. And then like most of my listens came after I stopped the podcast, right? And people were like, oh, people around me were like, oh, this is good, you should keep doing it. But like, when it's like you do something and like 11 people listen, it's like very demoralizing. And then like, and then like later on,
I still like it as a sort of bookkeeping, like a record of things.
Yes.
But, like I definitely get that like posting to the void on Twitter feels bad, but posting to the void in a video format feels like ungodly awful.
Oh my God. It was so bad. And like, this is all, I mean, like eventually the views start to add up, right? And then you start to hear people like 6 months later, like, oh, I watched that episode, or like, oh, this and that, whatever.
But yeah, like, or they'll reference like some joke that you made at some point during your podcast. Like, when I get DMs with people like referencing podcast bits that happened like 45 minutes into some show, I'm like, holy fuck, dude, this is awesome.
No, it feels so lit. Like, yeah, guys keep doing that because like it's so validating. They're like, someone references like something bro, people talk to me about apples. Like I get DMs, dude, about our Apple conversation to this day, like regularly. People are like, oh yeah, you don't like this for like, I'm like, oh shit, okay, let's go. So I'm all about that, but like it is, and now it feels, now that we have bigger followings, that like I had literally, when I started the podcast last time, I had 300 followers. So most of the podcast
that does make it really hard.
Yeah, and most of the podcast was to less than 1,000 followers. Like I was putting out to less than 1,000, and it wasn't until, and when I ended the podcast, I had like 5K, right, which is still not, it's still 1/3 of my following now, right? But then like a year passed since then, and more listens happened after it ended, right? So that's why I'm like, I was like, okay.
Well, it's also nice just getting to see the way that things add up over time and realizing that like even if nobody shills it, even if you put something out in the dead of night with nothing going on, like if you produce quality content, people will eventually find it somehow, unless you like put it on some like obscure like if you put it on like BitChute labeled like X4A1 YYZ 4.2, like
they're not finding that shit.
But like Spotify, if you're reasonable about like tagging content and stuff like that, and it's good, people will somehow find it.
Yeah, and this is good. I mean, that's a good part of the internet. And then also seeing the time lag and seeing it like codified in like that way to like, okay, there's like about 6 for like long form content. It's like a 6-month lag period, right? You just kind of have to accept that you're essentially doing nothing. You're doing stuff, but like the wave comes like
you're basically building up a body of content that you can give people who discover it to go back and like binge listen at that point.
Exactly.
So like while they're waiting for you to release your next podcast episode diligently, they have something to go back and chew on.
And thanks again for listening. You can catch the entirety of this episode on Patreon. The first hour going forward, we're going to probably do like about an hour-ish, depending on whatever the episode is, free. And then typically we record significantly longer. Sometimes, and it kind of just depends. Sometimes we record for like hours. Sometimes we record for like an additional like half hour to an hour. So either way, we're going to give you the full raw episode on Patreon. So be sure to go to patreon.com/VersandLucas. And then beyond that, just follow us on Twitter, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, do the whole thing, comment. All that stuff is greatly appreciated. Follow our Twitters, our Substacks, you know the deal. Anyway, catch you guys later.